Hello and welcome to the Football Malarkey podcast. I am Simon Doyle. It is Thursday, April 22nd. I am back after a brief hiatus with only one topic of discussion in mind, and that is the Super League idea. You might be sick of hearing about it by now. Many people have been talking about it even outside of football. Anyone in football, it's all we've been talking about of late. My initial reaction, like many people's, was that this would be the end of football as we know it. And I don't say that emotionally. I'm not trying to be over the top. I'm not trying to be dramatic. This idea of the Super League would tear apart the very idea of competition in football. We already have owners throughout football who do the bare minimum requirements to keep themselves relevant, to make it look like they're trying to appease people, meanwhile taking as much money from the clubs as they can. These owners are here to make money for themselves, not to improve the game. They don't give a damn about the game. They do not care. They are billionaires out to make some more millions or billions. I don't begrudge anyone who is a billionaire, is a millionaire. Fair play. Fine. Good for you. And by trying to push forward and make more money, fine. That's your own prerogative. But when you denigrate centuries old social institutions that are propped up by millions of fans across the world, and you try to take advantage of that to make your money, that's a problem. That is unacceptable. If you want to sell products, buy different businesses, do what you want, as long as you're not harming people. But when you decide social institutions are yours to change for your profit, ones that mean as much as they do to as many people as they do across the world, you've crossed a serious line. This Super League idea would have killed the very integrity of the sport, the very idea of competition, the idea that you earn what you get. You don't get to automatically qualify for something just because you signed up at the right time and you signed a certain contract, a 23-year contract, I believe it was, for these 12 clubs. And make no mistake, this was just a starting point. From there, who knows what we would have seen. We could well have seen what we see in American sports, where franchises get moved to different cities, which I think is just a deplorable idea, but it happens. Or they randomly add in other clubs. Some people have mistakenly called it the European Super League because the 12 initial clubs were all European clubs. But take note, they didn't call it that. They called it the Super League because it is very much, or was very much, their intention to have other clubs and other participants from outside of Europe. Whichever ones led to the most profit, essentially. And frankly, given how fast it's collapsed, and thankfully so. I'm scratching my head. I'm baffled as to how ignorant these club owners could be or have been. It looks so amateurish. It's almost like they did it on purpose. Still can't make my mind up if they were just that ignorant and thought that we would just go along with this and accept this and say, oh, okay. Or did they always know it was going to fail? And what does that mean? I can't make my mind up. We saw many protests from many fans, most notably Chelsea fans outside of Stamford Bridge before their game ahead of Brighton, against Brighton on Tuesday. It was a welcome sight because this is not one club's problem. It's not even a handful of clubs' problem. This is a football problem. Like I alluded to earlier, there are many clubs. I can name a few off the top of my head just in England. We think about Manchester United, Arsenal, Newcastle. Think of Blackburn, Bolton, what's happened to them in recent years. And there's many other clubs you could name. Have owners that, like I said, just do the bare minimum to keep themselves relevant. And people throw stones at these fans and say, what are you really complaining about? They say to Newcastle fans, what, you think you're going to win the league? Like, what do you expect? You're in the Premier League, shut up. Or to Arsenal fans, well, look at the players you have. Or to Manchester United fans, look how much money you spent. What are you complaining about? Shut up. But we are the ones that see the patterns. We are the ones that see what these people do month to month, year to year, and how they operate. And we have been saying this about these people for a long time, that they are just here to make money for themselves. They don't care about the fortunes of the club, really. Just enough to keep themselves relevant and make it look like they're doing the right thing. But they don't care. Winning league titles and Champions League titles is not in the forefront of their minds. That would be nice for them. But it's not their ultimate ambition. Their question is, how much money goes into my bank account at the end of the day? That's their question. That's their first and last question. Manchester United and Arsenal haven't been themselves in recent years because the drive is not there to compete. Teams that do have that drive, Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and we can say many bad things about their owners as well, and they've been heavily involved in this debacle. But at least they want to win. At a minimum, they do want to win. Or at least John Henry has given that impression at Liverpool. Maybe it was always to get Liverpool fans on side before they walked into this, because I think he knew as far back as when he took over the club that this was on the table. I think Stan Kroenke definitely knew, and I think if you connect the dots now, it's very, very, it's strange but also gratifying to see that a lot of the things we've been pointing fingers at in terms of the Glazers' behaviour and the way they've operated with Manchester United over the last 15-16 years, we can connect a lot of the dots now and see that they were always aiming to do this. Always. They took over the club with a huge... the club had no debt. The club had a very, very successful bank balance, or healthy bank balance, I should say. And they latched on this ridiculous amount of debt with a stupidly high interest rate. And all they've done since then is pay off the interest, not the debt. And you're thinking, how is that sustainable? Oh, and who loaned them the money to do this with this ridiculous interest rate? JP Morgan. Who's funding the Super League? JP Morgan. It's not a coincidence. Why have a man in charge who's good at maximizing profits but doesn't know much about football? Same reasons. Money. And to get the club into this position. We can connect a lot of the dots now and see that this is always what they had in mind. And I bet you it started ramping up the minute Fergie was gone. They knew they wouldn't get away with it while he was there. But as soon as he was gone, you often hear United fans complain about the spending, and other fans say, what are you talking about? You spend so much money. But we've been saying there is a pattern. We will spend large money in a scattergun approach for a new manager one summer, and then the next summer spend very little and not back him. That manager gets thrown under the bus. We want a new manager. Rinse, repeat. And when you've got people on top of that making the football decisions who aren't football people, you end up with the disaster that we've had up until when Mourinho left. I think that's why most United fans are, at least to some degree, very happy with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge. I'm certainly someone who backs Ole a lot because I think at the bare minimum, he makes us feel like Manchester United again. He makes us feel like we're trying to do everything to win. Might not always work, doesn't always work. We don't make the real improvements to the squad that are needed to catch the people we're trying to catch. But at least we know he's pushing in that direction. That he knows what's expected of the club. Because it feels like nobody else has known since Fergie left. The idea that you can take these clubs into a closed competition and say to all the other historically successful and even currently successful clubs with big fan bases, etc. I'm looking at Leicester, Sevilla, Roma, so many others we could name. We're going over here and you might get invited. Spits in the face of football. Spits in the face of competition. And is an act that should be punishable by expulsion, excommunication, whatever we want to call it. Get these people out of the game. Out. Every single one of those owners who signed up. And I'm still looking at Abramovich and at those City owners. Just because they pull out first doesn't mean they get away with this. They signed up. But the main culprits are the Glazers, FSG or whatever they're called at Liverpool, Kroenke at Arsenal, Perez at Real Madrid, and Andrea Agnelli at Juve. These people need booting out and a permanent expulsion from the game. They're out, they're gone. And there's no way back for them. There cannot be. Because these people are dangerous for the future of football. Perez has the gall to claim that his ideas are the ideas of the Super League are trying to save football. And this brings me back to what I said earlier, just the level of ignorance from these people is just it almost makes me believe they're doing it on purpose. Like, this is all masking something else. And I know some of you might say, oh, it's masking the Champions League changes, which also went through this week, which aren't good for football either. But it seems to be more than that, because they properly committed. They walked away from the European Club Commission, whatever it's called. They signed in their resignations. They stepped down from there. You don't do that if you're just trying to pose a threat, trying to pose a question to UEFA to say, listen, if you don't do what we want, we'll walk away. They walked away anyway. I can't speak for fans in Italy or Spain or even all the English clubs, but I think I do speak for most fans of English clubs when I say we need to push hard and fast now to get a similar ruling, a similar ownership structure that they have in Germany, the 50+1 rule, which gives fans the voting share, the majority share. Yes, that might lead to less football in the English game, but it has to be done to stop these people from taking the game away from us. And I'm not even someone who is a season ticket holder. I don't live in England. But for those people to be told we're joining this new competition, we'll always be in it, and obviously your ticket prices will go way up. Most of your away games will be away in Spain, in Italy, at the very least. Who knows where else it would have ended up. It spits in the face of the people who made the club what it is. The local people who built it up over a century. 1878 was when Manchester United was found as Newton Heath, Lancashire, Yorkshire Railway, something. And you're telling those people, the people who have come over the decades, the families, the generations who've been there as season ticket holders, your ideas don't matter. We're just going to go ahead and do this because it makes us money. And they actually thought that most people would just put up and go along with it. They've completely misread the room. And I couldn't be happier that it's collapsed as quick as it has. Now, Florentino Perez is still a problem. He's still spouting absolute nonsense every chance he gets, saying that they're trying to save football, as if he's talking as if we don't understand. He's saying things like, we can't buy Haaland or Mbappe if this doesn't happen. We don't care. I don't even care from a Manchester United point of view. If they said we can't make the big signings that you guys wanted us to make if we don't do this, fine, don't make them. We don't want these players at the expense of the game itself. Are you ridiculous? Unbelievable. To think that we were actually going to accept that. They're treating us all like we're 14-year-olds who only know football through FIFA. That we were going to be outraged that big signings couldn't be made, and oh no, we best sign up for whatever it takes then, because it's imperative that we make these signings no matter what. No. The health of the game is imperative. The health of competition, earning your right to be at the top, that is imperative. And if this means that things need to fall in terms of the ridiculous levels of transfer fees and wages that we see, then so be it. Because most fans, a large majority of fans, will take that. The health of the clubs, the health of the competition is paramount. Not signing Haaland or Mbappe. And to be quite fair, if Haaland or Mbappe really want to make these moves to bigger clubs, then they shouldn't make it such a big ordeal. Don't demand ridiculous wages. Leave at a time where the transfer fee is fairly minimal or your contract is up. Why are we beholden to the whims of these players? It's ridiculous. The clubs need ownership back, and that means the fans need ownership back. Because when I say the clubs, I don't mean the owners. The power in terms of transfer fees and wages, etc., has to come back to a realistic level. And to do that, we need fans making responsible decisions. Because the owners can't be trusted to do so. They've shown that. They've proven that again and again. We need these people out of the game. It's as simple as that. I mentioned his name once, but Andrea Agnelli at Juventus is another very dangerous man for this sport. His family have had a controlling stake in Juve since something like the 1930s. It's almost 100 years. And you would swear this guy just got into football yesterday, the way he speaks. Again, talking about needing to save the game. The issues that are coming up. The only issue that we can see is that astronomical wages and transfer fees need to be maintained and expanded by you people. That's what you're looking to push. It's natural. If the money in football comes down, wages, transfer fees, etc. have to come down with it. There's no rule that says they have to rise exponentially. So let's reset things a bit. They'll just look for more ways to bring in more money and extrapolate these ridiculous fees. Agents' fees as well. Gone through the roof. It's a bubble and it has to burst. And I think now is the time. COVID was already creating a problem, which is I think what led these guys to think, oh, we've lost a lot of money this year from not having fans in stadiums, etc. What way can we get that money back? No, just reduce your expenses. They're acting like, well, it's our fault as fans because we demand that they spend money on player X and player Y, etc. We demand transparency. We demand that you don't take the money and put it in your back pocket as owners. We demand that the profits of the club are used for the betterment of the club. That's what we want. If you can open up the books with full transparency and say, this is all the money we got this year for X, Y, and Z reasons, therefore this is all we can realistically spend. Fair. Most fans will say, a large majority of fans, all but a few people who want to stick their head in the sand and say, no, get Mbappe no matter what, which is a few 15-year-olds. All the other fans, particularly the match-going fans, the people in the area, the people whose families built the club, will say, no problem. We fully understand. You're not taking the money. The money isn't gone missing to pay off some debts that you put on the club. We just don't have this much because of X, Y, and Z. And here's our expenses for the last year. And this is why we can only spend 40, 50 million instead of 100 million this summer. Fair. Fine. No problem. But they don't do that. There is no transparency with what they do. There's loan repayments, most of it just going to interest at Manchester United anyway. There's dividends taken. We don't know what the finances look like. Precisely. We don't know exactly what the transfer budget could be or wage budgets could be. That is the problem fans have with modern ownership. We're not the ones sitting here demanding that you just get more money from somewhere and we don't care where. I have never heard one fan say that. Ever. They're just trying simply to pull the wool over our eyes. To make changes that they want, that guarantees them a huge sum of money every year. That's what they want. That's all. It's not about competition. It's not about doing what's best for football. I saw them say as well that the money would be redistributed back down through the pyramid. What's the point if I'm playing for Wolves and we're closed off to reaching the pinnacle of the sport? What's the point in the money? You really think all these clubs are going to have the same following and viewership on TV, etc., as they do if they're always consigned to being mediocre at best? Use your heads. Perez used those exact words. He said people aren't using their heads. You're not using your head. You have not thought this through. I heard someone else, I don't know who it was. It wasn't Perez. It wasn't even one of the owners. But the comment was made that with these clubs gone, clubs like Ajax and Leicester, etc., would have the chance to win the Champions League. So what are you complaining about? Well, it's not the Champions League, is it? If there's no champions in it. It's not the Champions League if it's not the pinnacle of the sport anymore. It's not like you're champions of Europe if the 12, at least at a minimum, the 12 super clubs haven't been around. You're not the champions of Europe. You won some UEFA competition. Well done. You might as well have won the Europa Conference League at that stage. What do people not understand about that? It's not going to have the same prestige, anywhere near the same prestige, to win the Champions League if those clubs aren't in it. Think that through. I haven't much else to say on the topic, I think. At least not that I can remember. But this is an opening. It is a time where we have the goodwill, we have the unity to push to make proper changes to our sport for the better and not leave it in the hands of these people who do not care about the game. Most of them, if not all of them, have probably never even kicked a ball before in their life. They wouldn't know a football if it hit them in the head. Why are these people making these decisions for everyone? Because they have money? That's not good enough. We do not need these people in the game. Football isn't making the money it's making because of these people. It's making it because it is the most popular sport in the world and we love it and we love the competition. That's not to say there aren't positive changes that can be made. There are. But this certainly isn't one of them. This takes it in the opposite direction. Takes it more away from the fans, away from the footballers themselves. It makes it a package, an entertainment package. Football is not entertainment. Football is a religion. I don't say that lightly. It is an integral, deeply ingrained, social institution in most parts of the world, particularly in England. And these owners not only failed to respect that, failed to recognize it completely. It's amazingly amateurish and idiotic the way they've gone about this. But it's shown who they really are. And it's confirmed what a lot of us already thought about them. So now's the time. Push and get these people away from our game, or we will lose it. The apologies they've made were not even apologies. If you read between the lines, they're simply saying, well, we know what's best for the game, but we'll go along with what you say for now to appease you. No, you're not getting it. You're still not getting the picture. You do not know what's best. You will never know what's best. And we want you away from these decision-making positions. Far, far away. Never to be seen again. It is not your game. It never will be. So get out.